Hello everyone, and welcome, family, to a new video on this anime channel. In this video, I'll analyze one of the most intriguing characters from Evangelion, Gendo Ikari. We'll dive into his role as a father and examine why he was such a terrible father to Shinji. Without further ado, let's begin. Gendo is the highest authority figure within NERV, and in a way, we could say he has been responsible for defending humanity from the attacks of the angels, or at least, that's what it seems on the surface, without digging into his true motivations and what drives him to lead this organization. If we had to describe Gendo, we'd say he is a very cold and reserved person, capable of doing whatever it takes to achieve his selfish goals, showing no remorse or doubt. Yet at the same time, he is a man with many layers and a very complex psyche, shaped by a traumatic past and driven by unbridled ambition. Unlike most ambitious characters in anime, who often exude great self-confidence to back up their goals, Gendo hates himself and is not a confident person at all. After Yui's death, he abandoned Shinji because he believed he couldn't be a good father without her. In a way, he doesn't hate Shinji. He's just completely focused on carrying out the human instrumentality project, treating everything else as secondary, even other people. This doesn't mean he hates Shinji, but rather that he's a neglectful and absent father, willing to abandon his own son and only call on him when he's needed, showing a lack of empathy and emotional connection. Gendo uses his relationship with Shinji to further his own goals and manipulate events to his advantage, without ever degrading himself. From the very first episode, this becomes clear, like when he considers sending Rei into battle while she's critically injured and clearly on the brink of death. We also see it in later episodes when Shinji runs away, and Gendo couldn't care less, because if a pilot refuses to pilot, they're useless to him. To Gendo, all pilots are tools to be used, and his son is no exception. Gendo's emotional detachment from Shinji is evident throughout Neon Genesis Evangelion. His lack of warmth, his indifference to Shinji's well-being, and his emotional manipulation define their relationship. Gendo consistently communicates coldly and distantly, never expressing his feelings. This indifference leads him to neglect Shinji in difficult moments, increasing Shinji's feelings of loneliness and insecurity. Furthermore, he uses Shinji as a tool to achieve his goals rather than building a genuine father-son bond. These toxic and harmful behaviors deeply affect their dynamic, causing emotional pain for Shinji and reinforcing his sense of abandonment. Gendo's relentless ambition significantly impacts how he raises Shinji, involving him in a dangerous and traumatic world. His quest for power and control leads him to neglect Shinji emotionally, prioritizing his goals over his son's needs. Shinji is repeatedly exposed to life-threatening situations as an EVA pilot, which severely affects his mental and physical health. Gendo is, quite literally, forcing Shinji back into the womb of his mother and letting him suffer agonizing injuries, being stabbed, mutilated, and traumatized on multiple occasions. This is far from an ideal situation for a 14-year-old boy. Additionally, Gendo manipulates and controls Shinji as part of his plans, fostering a dysfunctional and toxic family environment. This lack of paternal presence has had severe consequences for Shinji, growing up without either a father or a mother to rely on since the age of about 4 or 5. Shinji feels abandoned and emotionally isolated. As a result, he struggles to form emotional connections with others and to find a sense of belonging or a place to call home. This emotional solitude impacts his self-esteem and contributes to his internal struggles and feelings of worthlessness, pushing him into depression. He retreats into his own loneliness as a shield to avoid being hurt by others. Deep down, Shinji seeks acceptance, approval, and love from those around him. Though he serves as humanity's savior by piloting the EVA, in reality, he is the one who longs to be saved, someone to heal his emotional wounds and free him from the darkness caused by his father's abandonment. Leaving aside Gendo's role as a father and his influence on Shinji, we should analyze his perspective to understand why he acts the way he does. He is an incredibly complex character, shaped by significant trauma and loss, which have influenced his personality and how he approaches parenting Shinji. The death of his wife and his involvement in the catastrophic events of the second impact have left a deep scar on him. These events likely caused him to shut himself off emotionally, focusing instead on his personal goals rather than his obsession with human instrumentality and his role in NERV led him to make difficult decisions. From his perspective, his mission takes precedence over any personal considerations, including fatherhood. While Gendo projects a cold and distant exterior, he carries a deep and intense emotional burden. It's possible Gendo fears love and attachment due to his past experiences, which might explain his difficulty connecting emotionally with Shinji. In the past, he had a strong emotional bond with his wife, and her death shattered him. If he were to develop a similar bond with Shinji, only to lose him in one of his missions, it would devastate him all over again. For this reason, he might be creating a barrier between himself and his son to avoid attachment and further suffering. Ultimately, in Evangelion, Gendo Ikari is portrayed as a deeply flawed father to Shinji. His emotional detachment, overwhelming ambition, and constant absence in Shinji's life reveal a pattern of behavior that solidifies his role as a terrible father. In summary, Gendo Ikari is incapable of providing the love, attention, and guidance necessary for Shinji's well-being, making him an awful father in Neon Genesis Evangelion.